All right, well, I suppose we'll get going. It's going to be like the other classes. We're going to go over the course outline. I have a thing for you. It's a homework, but it's pass fail. So if you literally wrote "I don't know" for every question, then you would get 1 out of 1. So not really asking a whole lot. I'll talk about that in a bit, though. So I guess we'll just get into this whole spiel. So my name is Travis. Last name doesn't matter because just call me Travis. People will, they'll be like Professor Boblin, and I'm like, oh no, I'm 36 years old. Please don't make me feel that way. So just Travis is fine. That's whatever. So let's see. We have an email address, and different instructors have different preference. I prefer email. I like lots of people. So the jokes, you've heard about Blackboard a lot. I don't know if some of the instructors said they prefer Blackboard messages. I don't. Okay, good. Because they don't give me a notification really. So it's like people will send a Blackboard message and it kind of sits there for like a week and they're like, he didn't respond. I'm like, yeah, well, I didn't get a notification. Emails though, straight to my phone. So that's the best way to get a hold of me. And it's sort of the obvious one. It's that, which I guess thinking about it, we changed the portal on you midway through your journey. I know that because I was part of the implementation team. So now I can go on a little bit of tangent here. So I work 2 roles at the college. One of them is an administrative role during the day, 8:30 to 4:30. I work for the registrar's office. I coordinate between IT and the registrar's office. So yeah, I know about the portal. I know you were emailed a username for the loop, and then suddenly you couldn't get in anymore because you might have got missed in the communications. Not my fault. Sorry. I know it's been a journey, but that means if you are struggling with it, unfortunately, you can come to me and I know all about it. So, hooray. But anyway, my point more is you're probably used to seeing these types of usernames now because that's what you log in with. Office hours. So, like I just said, I work from home Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So I'm not really on campus. Monday and Wednesday, though, I'm here all day. So technically, I have an office, and it's new, and I don't remember what it is. 2915 question mark. But my office hours are by appointment because of the fact that I have a day job and yada yada yada. So I need to book time aside. It's not. To be clear, you can contact me anytime you want to set up an appointment. This is not me saying, well, I work a day job, so we can't meet with me. No, that's not what it is. I just need to know in advance. Also, after class, so not this class, I have 2 sections of this back to back. So my poor voice. But after that class, it's in 2503. I'll write it on the board. If you let me know in advance, I'll stick around. I will just leave immediately. If I know someone's going to be there. If nobody emails me and you just show up, then it's done at 7:30. I don't want to stay till 8 just in case someone shows up. So office hours by appointment. So that just means email me really and just say, hey, Travis, I want to meet. And I'll say, okay, when? And then I will work around your schedule because mine, as long as I don't have a meeting, I'll meet whenever. So after my other class in 03, also possible, but let me know first. Again, because I'll just leave if nobody tells me they're going to stay. And someone from the other class might be like, hey, I want to chat with you after class. I'll be like, okay. And then maybe you could stop by and see me. But if you don't let me know, don't count on me being there. But point is, I try to be flexible. Most of the questions that people ask are just answerable through email, right? Like it's the most common is, Travis, I did this. Did I do it right? And then I go, yes or no. And then, offer suggestions, or someone's like, I got to this point and I'm stuck, and then I can just like write on my tablet or something and say, hey, try this next, and you know, it usually works out. So communicating math online is shockingly okay when you have a tablet. When you don't, well, it kind of sucks. Unless you are fluent in LaTeX, in which case then it's totally fine. So then there's a bunch of other stuff in here, like it's face-to-face, obviously. It says anticipated response time 1 to 2 business days. That's a lie, in the good way. I am at my desk from 8:30 till 4:30 every day, and I get emails to my phone. So, I mean, I'll see it immediately and probably respond if I can. So I've had some students, like, they'll email me and then I respond like 5 minutes later and they're like, what? So whenever, unless like 2 a.m. on a Saturday, in which case I'm probably still awake, but I'm not responding to you until Monday. So there's a bunch of stuff in here that we can safely ignore. Like the course description talks about stuff. The course learning outcomes, we mostly meet these, but this outline needs to be reviewed because it was created like a few years ago, like 4 years ago, and that's not how I teach the course anymore. Because here's an example. Convert and apply imperial and metric measurements is one of the course learning outcomes. So just a quick guess. If you had to do 14 inches to centimeters, how would you do it? Yeah, exactly, right? So, I mean, I don't think that's a useful course learning outcome, so I've kind of moved away from that. So I try to teach math that you'll actually care about. So that's more in, I have on Blackboard, there's the notes. You can look ahead to see what we're going to talk about. But on the back here, there's also course topics. So the first thing we talk about is symbolic logic, which is, I mean, when you're starting programming, it's useful to know that, because if you don't have any experience, then it kind of breaks down the idea of like if then else statements and stuff like that. So it's helpful to know. But then this is a math class, so I do a little bit of mathy stuff on it too. So that's the part that honestly, it's more fun than you think. I swear, I promise. You won't hate it, probably. But this is something I want to mention. So in previous semesters, I covered proofs. So that's like formal proofs, mathematical proofs, which are fun logic puzzles if you are a masochist, which I love math. So I don't know. I love math. But students did not like it, right? Because I'm making you go through this very formal, dry process. So I've taken it out. I am going to replace it with a new topic, which you're the guinea pigs for. So if you totally hate it, I'm going to ask you about it. I'm going to be like, did you hate this? Was this awful? And then I'll show you the proofs, and then you'll be like, we like this better. But still, I want to talk about either graph theory, which you don't have to worry about what that is yet. It's just if it rings a bell, great. But the reason why I want to talk about that is it's useful for solving certain programming problems. Like just think about a website, right? You've got a bunch of links that go a bunch of different places, and if you have a graph of it, which graph, it doesn't mean, parabola, it means something else entirely, which we'll talk about, then you could find like the deepest path and stuff like that and figure out, oh, is my website really inaccessible because there's like, to get to this, I had to jump through 10 links or something, and that's kind of annoying. So stuff like that, like it is useful. I also maybe want to talk about binary trees. That could also be fun, but they're a little more involved, and depending on when we talk about it, it might not really sync up with the Python course, so it's kind of, I don't know. Anyway, that's just flavor. But the point is, yeah, this stuff on here is, I mean, it's not like I completely ignore it, but we don't go over it too much, so don't sweat it too much. The one thing I do want to mention, though, is assessments. So that's important. This is a math class, so no exams. I did them the first term I taught it. Everyone said we hate exams. I was like, fair enough. I was the only person doing exams at the time, and now I think there are exams in other courses. So I'm like, well, whatever. So what I have is there are, I'm going to write it over here. So there are a couple pieces in this course. They end up not, in my experience with students, they end up saying it's not too bad. So there's some what I call take-home quizzes. They're open book. Again, it's whatever. And there's usually 10 of them or so, and they're like one question. So you take them home and you do them. They're worth 25%. So the way I do this is I like to do 2 hours of lecture. So like, 2 hours of lecture. So like one of them is like full lecture with like a little bit of a break. And then I finish the topic on the next day. And then I say, okay, now you have an hour. Here's a worksheet that's similar to this. So work on it in class and I'll help you, right? And then you go to do the quiz that you submit through Blackboard, or you can hand it to me, whichever. And it's very similar to what you just did that you got help with, right? So, and I'll help you with this too. It's just, you know, you have in-class practice, right? So that nothing is really blindsiding you in that regard. Now, we have class on Monday. So normally, I like to have a cadence with it. So, you know, I would be like, okay, Monday, we're going to do the lecture, and then Wednesday we'll finish up, and then Wednesday's your work period, and then it's due on Saturday at midnight, right? And then you have time to do it and email me and whatever. We have 2 holidays on Mondays. Truth and Reconciliation Day, Remembrance Day, both on Monday. We have no cadence whatsoever because of that. So I'm going to do my best to try to make it like, you know, sensible and like not, like I'll keep you in the loop for it. Like in previous terms, it would be, well, it's obvious this is going to be the order of the whole term, but I don't know if I can really do that this term. So I'll just keep you updated on when things are due and, you know, what we're planning to do, right? Like it's quote unquote obvious. Like if there was a holiday on Monday, then obviously Wednesday is the lecture day, and then, you know, Monday, and then it would probably, I might still make the quiz due on Saturday, and then you have a bunch of extra time. Like it's no skin off my back, but anyway, I'll keep you posted. There are what I call chapter review assignments. There's 4 of them. And they are worth 30%. So this is basically just, it's a short assignment, right? There's like 4 or 5 questions, I would say. And this is a math assignment, right? And then you submit it, and then I grade it and give you feedback, right? Now, there is also, so this is something maybe I'll experiment with a bit, which again, I will seek feedback, and if you hate it, then, you know, that's good to know. I also have group projects. So you actually get to work in a group of up to 4 people of your choosing. You can work by yourself if you want. I don't force anyone into groups. I've had students who work by themselves plenty of times, and they do fine. I've also had students who try to work by themselves, and then they sink under the weight of all the other projects, because if they're doing this by themselves, it's not this project that gets them. It means they're probably doing all their other projects by themselves. And then it's overwhelming, right? Especially the Python class. If you have a group project in that, I encourage you not to work alone. But this one's still not too bad. And in the past, I have made it, it's a bigger math assignment. I don't really love that. So I'm trying to think of some way to make it, let's say, more fun. Because it's basically just this again, and it's like, okay, well, I mean, at that point, students don't care because it's easy, right? At that point, you've already done it, so you're like, whatever, it's easy. But I want it to be more fun, and the way to make it fun in a computer programming program is to include computer programming, I think. So that's what I'm going to try and toy around with, is maybe like on this group project, maybe instead of being like 12 math questions, it's like a couple of more challenging math questions and a programming question. And then it's more interesting, right? So I'm still toying with this. I haven't posted them yet because I'm still playing around with it. But we'll see. There's 3 of them. Each are worth 15%. So if I'm not terrible at math, that adds up to 100%. And typically, so you see it on the outline here. I called it Group Project 1, Group Project 2, Group Programming Term Project. And that one sort of took the place of a final exam because we don't have exams. And it's like, I don't know, like 6 or 7-ish programming questions that, you know, if you work in a group of 4, each person takes 1 or 2 and then divvies it up and then solves the problems. And they're not complex, right? So one thing that students have said is this is not the programming class, right? This is the math class. So it feels kind of bad if your success in the math class depends on your ability to program. And at first I was like, that's totally fair. But then I also thought, but this is a computer programming diploma. So if you're not doing great at the programming, then um, so I want to put more programming in here that's interesting. I'm gonna have to coordinate with the other instructors to make sure that like it's not, you know, outside the scope of what you've covered and that sort of stuff. But again, like I said, I just want it to be interesting. I want people to have fun in a math class. I'm sorry, I do. Anyway, that's assessment stuff, which is probably the stuff that most people care about. No exams probably makes people happy. On Blackboard, I made it's for grades in the sense that it's for grades, but it won't count towards anything. It's just if I make it for grades, it shows up on your Blackboard feed, and you're like, oh, I should do that. And it's just a submission where you can say these are the people in my group, right? It's called group submission link or something like that. So you just say, yeah, it's I'm by myself, or you know, John and I are working together, right? And then that's all I need, just so I can assign you a group in Blackboard, so it makes it easier to sort things. I think I set it to like the 28th or something like that. It's again, it doesn't matter. Just email me if you forget to. As for required stuff, there's no textbook in this class because I think charging for textbooks is criminal. So I have online notes, and you just use them, right? I can if you're like Travis, I'm really struggling with this topic, I can give you links to lots of resources, right? Nothing we cover is like super outlandish or anything like that, so it's all pretty accessible. If you want more resources, I can help you, but usually the notes are enough because everything's based on the notes. There says it's a bring your device program. It's a math class. There is some programming, but let's see what else. In this participation section, I talk about the work period, which I've already mentioned. So here under assessments, I also have that late assignments are accepted with a 20% penalty each day. So let's be clear. If you're sick or something and you let me know in advance, that's different, right? That's, hey, something really came up in my life. I can't get it in. I'm flexible with that, right? I'll work with you if you have an illness or something happened in your life. That's totally fine. This is for like, I totally forgot. It's like, okay, well, I'll still accept it, but you know, it's written in the outline. There's a penalty, right? So that means 5 days before it just becomes a 0. And also, it's more complicated with these because they're worth a lot. So, like, if someone's, my point is, I'm flexible here. It's easy to say, yes, I have this penalty in here, and then be flexible in a way that favors you, then go the other way. The other thing is these technically are individual work. Now, you have group projects. So obviously you're going to work on these with your group mates and friends, right? So by individual, it means submit your own work. So like you all have to do it and submit your own work. Which leads me into the thing that you probably already heard about, but the academic misconduct spiel of like plagiarism and cheating and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You have group projects. It's pretty hard to cheat. And yet every single term in this course, someone cheats. In the most ludicrous, you would not believe me if I didn't tell you it happened like 5 times already. Students will submit their friend's assignment with their friend's name and ID on it. So it's like, okay, there's no plausible deniability here, right? Like the point is, this is a math class. So at the end of the day, there kind of is only one way to do things. So I'm not going to, like, if you all have the same truth table. Okay, yeah, that means you did it right? But it's very obvious when people just literally copied, right? So just it's basically just do it. You can work at a table together. Just make sure you're writing it down at the same time, right? And you're doing like it. I mean, you've all taken math classes before, right? So like it's like that, right? Like I'm not gonna scrutinize it with a magnifying glass or anything like that, but I mean, I still check. And if you submit it your friend's assignment with your friend's name on it, I'm gonna have to report it. But otherwise, I don't want too much worry about it because it's math. I mean, it's the right answer. So, and we there are some word based problems which is always shocking to people in math because they expect it just to be numerical, but that's when it's a little more like you literally just copied each other word for word, even with the typos, and that's how it's like, okay, it's obvious, right? Like, eh. Anyway, I have to talk about it because it's one of those things, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the course outline, which, hey, that was actually pretty short. Again, because you've already, like, the times when this is the first class that you go to, because that's happened to me before, it's like, okay, I have to be the guy who talks about everything in here. But you've already seen this several times, so I'm not going to be a drill sergeant about it. But I mean, it can be helpful to just look at the back page, which has the topics. They probably don't mean anything. Well, some of them will, like basic probability. You took that in high school. Linear algebra, maybe have taken it, but probably not. It's pretty useful. Unfortunately, it comes kind of at the end of the class, and it's useful for understanding arrays and especially multidimensional arrays in programming. And by that point, you've already worked with arrays, so it's like, well, but you might not have worked with multidimensional arrays, so it can still be useful. And then we got integers and primes, recursion, stuff like that. Like, I tried to make the topics not how to convert from metric to imperial, but like, recursion. That's something that is used in programming. Anyway, any questions so far? Oh, the most obvious thing, I record my lectures. So that means if you have to miss a day or whatever because you're sick, that's fine. I will post the video. You can catch up by watching it, right? Because this is the thing. If I'm sick, I don't want to come in and get you all sick, which means if you come in sick and get me sick, y'all are missing class. So if you're sick, try not to come in. I can't force you, but I don't want to get sick. I hate it. I just got over the worst cold of my life over the summer. Who gets a cold in the summer? But like the cough lasted for like a month. It was horrible. So anyway, point is, I record the lectures. This one is already being recorded. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to point the camera at it that makes it like actually not horrible to look at, because I think this is pretty bad right now. But nothing in here isn't just like on the course outline, so it's fine. But yeah, it's all posted to YouTube. You can watch it as many times as you want. That sort of stuff. So, well, if there's no questions, then I'm going to hand this out. So what this is I call it quiz 1. Again, it's pass fail, literally. Like, I have had students who say, I don't know to every single one of these questions. Now, I say, make a good faith effort, like actually think about the questions and maybe give them a try. I can't distinguish between someone just putting in no effort and writing I don't know for everything versus a student who just genuinely doesn't know. So again, try to make an effort, because one of the reasons I have people do this is I want to get an idea of where your mathematical skill is. So there are some questions on here that I put on there that I'm like, I don't expect anyone to answer it. That's okay. If everyone in the room answered every single one of these questions, I'd be like, well, you're going to be bored. Sorry. It's never happened, but it could. But it's just like basic stuff. Like the first one is like fractions, and we got like factoring, like integers, and then I've got like factoring quadratics, which many of you are probably like, I don't remember how to do that. That's okay. You don't need to. I want to know how many people know how to do that. So the instructions are on here too if you are unsure, but this is just sort of to give you like a taste of how I do it, right? Like I lecture for a little bit, then I hand this out, and then you work on it, and you can ask me questions or whatever. Some students will just, they'll show up to the lecture, grab this, and then leave. I'm fine with that if you want. I'm not going to keep you here, right? But lots of people stick around just because, let's say the quiz is like one question. Takes you an hour to do it. Well, you're here anyway, so you might as well just stay and do it, and then you don't have homework really. But anyway, I will walk around and pass this around. Most of the questions are things that should be accessible with high school knowledge. And I don't mean, Math 31 or something like that. I mean, like, there are some stuff in here, if you took 30-2, you might struggle with, because you might be like, I don't remember having done that. And it's possible you didn't do it, and that's fine. If you need something from this, sorry, I can't count and talk at the same time, which is shocking, but so if there's something in this that you're like, oh no, I didn't know how to do that, and we need it for this course, I'll cover it. So don't worry too much. I assume you don't want more than one. Yeah, I guess that's true. There you go. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go around this way. You betcha. Also, I'm terrible with names. I'm sorry in advance. I'm terrible at memory in general. I don't know what my mom's birthday is. So there you go. Thank you. Here you are. 3, 2. There you go. I think everyone got one. Excellent.